Coming to you from sunny California and the Great White North. Get ready. We are breaking down the obstacles on the Armchair Ninja Podcast. Hello and welcome back to the Armchair Ninja Podcast. It is Wednesday, June 1st, 2016. My name is Rich, and with me once again this week is Bijan. How are you making out?
What's up, man? I wish I could say I was doing well, but just came back getting my computer fixed. $400 later, here I am. But enough about me. How was your trip to Philly, man?
It was absolutely phenomenal. It was everything it was supposed to be and more. It's been a surreal experience, and I was so looking forward to sharing it with you and all the listeners. So I'm really excited to record tonight.
Nice. Did you want to go over that very briefly first, or what do you want to do? You want to cover the show first?
Yeah, that's the thing, right? So we've got two big things to cover. I would definitely want to talk about the trip, but we also are going to cover the All-Star skills special, what do we call it? Yeah, it was kind of two episodes in one though. When you watch it, right? It's got the the two teams battling it out, and it's got the skills competition, and both were awesome.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about it. It really shocked me of how much I enjoyed it. I was going in just kind of lax about it. I was like, it'll be decent, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was really cool.
Yeah, I kind of thought it might have been not that exciting based on the fact that they held on to it for so long. I thought, well, maybe it didn't come out as good as they thought. I just wasn't sure. But I guess they must have just figured it's going to help build the hype for the season, right? By reminding everyone of the cool things everyone's capable of and who their favorite ninjas are. And I guess it's how they're going to lead into the season.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it was a good lead in and also a good way to remind everybody of the major stars of the sport and everything.
Yeah, so we're going to jump right into the Philly trip here because I don't think I can wait any longer, frankly. So it was funny that Jeff warned me about, dressing warm for the night because it was absolutely unbearably hot. We were all just dying from the heat from the whole trip.
Really?
Yeah, but like I said, we're coming from up north. But I mean, it was pretty hot there, especially through the daytime. It got to, I did the conversion. So it's 32 degrees, which is like 90 Fahrenheit. So it was pretty hot.
Yeah, that's decent.
Yeah, you're like, whatever. That's a Tuesday, right? For you. But
yeah, pretty much.
That's pretty hot to me. But overnight it wasn't so bad. But we definitely didn't need jackets or anything like that. It was very cool. So we get there. There's this massive line. I got approval to be part of the media, so I got a little media pass. But I had to get an exception made for them to come in, which seemed to be okay. But anyway, I was hanging out with them, just making sure they got into seats. That's all I was worried about. So I ended up missing, I think, a bunch of stuff that was going on for the media where they were meeting up with the hosts and the producers and all that stuff. I was just stuck with them. I'm making sure they get seats beyond anything else. So got them squared away near the warped wall. So you'll see them on the episode pretty much guaranteed.
Did you see, what people from American Ninja Warrior did you see?
Oh my God, we saw so many people. I don't want to give away anything, right? So I got to be careful of what I say.
Well, you were there for the beginning. I mean, it's not going to spoil too much because you can't really reveal who made it past, to the finals of qualifiers.
Exactly. That was kind of part of the trick. So, I mean, Jeff Britton was there. I talked to him for quite a while, talked to Joe, I talked to Akbar, I talked to Jessie Graff, who was there, which was a big shock since she's not from that region.
Yeah, she must have traveled far for that, geez, because she lives in LA.
Yeah, I got called out. I have to remember that we're not recording this for ourselves, right? There are people listening to this, including the people we're talking about.
Oh no, who called you out?
Two people. So first, Jessie. While I was there, I know you don't go on Twitter as much, but anybody that is following us on Twitter knows that I was asked the other day who my favorite ninjas were. And I said, basically I asked anybody that I interviewed would have been my favorites because that was who I asked, with two notable exceptions, and that was Jessie Graff and Drew Dreschel, and it was mainly because I was too nervous to talk to either one of them.
Why?
So Jessie, I don't know.
Starstruck or what?
A little bit, yeah. I was a little starstruck. So,
Okay.
yeah. So she called me on it. She's like, why would you get like that? Like, of course, I'd love to be on the show sometime. So, that might end up happening. I don't know. I'll probably get you to arrange that just because I'm turning into a goofy teenager around her. So
No worries, man. We'll get Jesse on. Probably. I don't know. I think it'd be good to like have her and a lot of other people kind of help us cover maybe the Vegas finals, because I'm sure they'll have like a lot of input of what happened down there.
yeah, maybe. I'm not sure, and that's what I said to her. I'm not sure how it would fit in, mainly because it takes a long time to record these the recap episodes for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see if we can work anything out with her schedule. Maybe it would make sense for her to be on the one for the LA taping, the Venice.
Oh yeah,
taping.
that would work too. That's coming up.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see if we can figure something out. It would be it would be very cool to have her on, and it was really cool to talk to her. She was super nice. Every single ninja was amazingly nice and so supportive of the fans, taking pictures with them all night long. It was everything I thought they would be. They were all so gracious. I didn't do any of I realized something once I was there. I'm officially too old to do the whole, hey, can I get a selfie with you thing. It just doesn't, it's officially creepy if I do it now. So I didn't do any of that, but it was really neat watching them interact with the kids and interact with the other fans. And speaking of, I had to sign my first autograph because a little kid came up to me and asked if he could get my autograph, which was absolutely the highlight of the night. As crazy as it was to meet everybody else and everything else was so cool, to have a little kid come up to you and ask you for your autograph is the most amazing feeling.
All right, calm down, Rich. Let's not get too big for our britches. You know what I mean? But
oh yeah,
but that's really cool, actually. Shout out to all the fans, and I'm really happy that you had a good time. You know, it speaks a lot where you're saying is of all the ninjas interacting with the fans and talking to them and everything, and just how open, kind of a community they are. Even the biggest stars of the entire sport, they're really open and engaging to the fans and everything, and that's really cool to hear.
Yeah, and I don't think we give enough credit to the production of the whole show sometimes. I was actually really surprised at a number of things, but I was expecting a little more fakeness, I guess. You know, I expected a lot more, and there are certain parts where they get you to, you know, applaud when they tell you to applaud and things like that. But that's to be expected. There's nothing. It's not even really fake. It's just kind of reminding you, like, hey, wake up! It's 3 a.m. You got to kind of wake up a little bit here. We're still filming because it is a long night. You know, I can see why people leave halfway through now or come in at, you know, the halfway point, because that's a long time and a lot of runs to go through.
Yeah. Definitely, it's not spectator friendly, as Jeff Britton said earlier, and I definitely can understand why people wouldn't stay the whole time. However, if you are a fan of the show, it is something kind of like a bucket list thing where you definitely should try to make it out at least one time for it. It's really rewarding at the same time, especially if you really have an affinity for the sport. Just please make sure that you bring the right type of attire in terms of clothing, and also bring some water and snacks, because it's going to be a long night for you.
Yeah, I was a little spoiled. Frankly, they had the VIP tent in the back, so I just go back, get some meat and some little cheese and they had stuff in the back.
Must be nice.
Yeah, spoiled rotten. But I brought tons of stuff anyway because I was warned. So I did follow the advice. We had tons of water and snacks and everything in our bag. So thank you, Jeff and Cameron, both for providing that information. And as Bijan just said, it is definitely something you want to do, is bring snacks, bring water, because you're pretty far from everything, right? It's not like you can just kind of run over to a little snack bar. They don't bring that with them for everybody.
Usually it's in a private lot where you have to travel by bus or something to even get there. So
yeah, actually the parking and stuff wasn't too bad. It was a little far away, but it was not, we didn't have to bus in or anything, which I hear was a nightmare in Pittsburgh last year. So yeah, you definitely 100% agree with Bijan. You have to bucket list. If you like the show at all, get out, watch a taping. It is phenomenal to watch. And it just leads to some surreal moments. And I don't know that Everybody was really open to chatting. Everybody was chatting with everyone. But I have to say, standing there, talking to Jeff and Jessica and having Joe Moravsky walk up and joining in the conversation as we're watching like Chris Wilczewski run the course and they're discussing and just being involved in that whole thing, like watching my favorite show with the competitors themselves and having that insight that they have into, the difficult parts and what's going to trip people up. And I've never experienced anything like it. It's amazing.
It's cool, man.
So yeah, as I mentioned at the beginning of this, I was called out twice. So once was by Jesse, and the second one was on the drive home, listening to the Wolfpack Ninja podcast. Brian Arnold called both of us out for not picking him and his team, Team Party Time, to win Team Ninja Warrior. So, Brian, man, come on. You are not known for going fast. How are we supposed to know you could go that fast?
Yeah, I gotta admit, I ate a little crow for that one. I feel like sometimes Brian Arnold doesn't get the credit he deserves, and I think this particular year he's really stepped it up and really come out of the spotlight. Before, he was kind of just like, it's really hard to describe, but the Wolfpack as a whole, some of the names get like, they're all elevated in a certain point, but I feel like a lot of people were really putting Isaac Caldiero on a really high pedestal, saying that he could perhaps make it. Noah Kaufman's kind of like the spokesperson of that group, and Megan Martin's kind of like the, there's all these different areas, and sometimes you get kind of just like saddled in part of the group. This particular year, Brian Arnold really stepped out as one of the head people, not of that group, but of the entire show. Before, he was kind of like one of the higher names, but now he's like really somebody that we really have to look out for. And I'm really glad for that, because he's gone so incredibly far so many times on this show. I forget what season, but one of the seasons, I mean, he went the furthest, and I feel like he kind of got overshadowed maybe last season, and I really am glad that he's kind of like amping up his name again and being like, no, I'm here, man, and I'm definitely here to stay. I'm still one of the top peak ninjas.
Yeah, he definitely made a name for himself. Season 5 you're thinking of, I believe. So yeah, so 4 would have been Brent going and making his mark. Then it was Brian. Then it was Joe. And then it was Jeff and Isaac.
Hey, speaking of the top echelon of ninjas, how about that All-Star special, huh?
Smooth transition. Yeah, let's get back over to the All-Star special and the skills challenge. So that was why there was some confusion. It was actually kind of 2 competitions in one. We had the All-Star special, which was 2 teams. So Team Matt was Joe Moravsky, Lance Pekas, JJ Woods, Grant McCartney, and Jesse Graff. And Team Akbar was Flip Rodriguez, Brent Stephenson, Jamie Ron, Daniel Gill, and Megan Martin. If you and I picked teams, that was pretty close to what I think we would have picked, wasn't it?
Yeah, those are pretty stacked teams, dude. I really liked it, and I really liked how they had a theme to every matchup, where you had like the up and coming rookie ninjas, you had the two of the top women of the sport, you had 2 of like the really really good solid I guess runners. They really had that, and what I appreciated about this show more than anything, and one thing that going into it, I was kind of down on this special just because I was like, well, there's really not going to be much stakes involved, right? I mean, who cares? It's not like, Team America versus the world where you really have this national pride or anything like that. This one didn't really have stakes, but instead of that, which I wasn't expecting, is they picked these teams and they paired them up more based upon like dream matchups in a way, where you really got to see some really fun runs, and not just that, you got to see them take on stages where we've always been wanting to see it, like Jesse Graff and Megan Martin finally running stage 3 and just seeing what they can do. That was so exciting.
That was probably the most excited I was. Well, maybe the flying shelf grab was a little more, but the seeing them run stage 3, I was so excited to see that was part of it. I was like, oh my god, I've been dying to see Megan especially try stage 3. So we got to see it finally.
Yeah, and we were talking about both Jesse and Megan taking on stage 3. I think last week or the week. I think with the Jeff Britton interview, interview podcast, whatever. And dude, like, I'm not eating crow at all. They did great. Like, they did so for their first time. They went further than most of the men ever did on stage 3. So big ups to them. That is huge. And one more notch. I'm glad that everybody tried different stages also, because it kind of boosts their confidence coming into this particular season.
Yeah, I would think so. And let's back it up a little bit. Let's take a look at, they skipped over stage 1, which I thought was a little strange. Maybe they needed the room for the skills competition, because we went right to stage 2.
I'm so fine with them skipping stage 1. Come on, man, let's get on with it.
Yeah, I suppose we've seen tons of people try stage 1 before. You know, everybody that gets to Vegas gets to try stage 1. It's not it's not every time we get to see people doing stage 2. So right off the bat, we had Joe versus Brent. And Joe flew through it like a rocket, man. He went through in just over a minute. It's the fastest than anyone's like ever done it. It took Jeff. Jeff was the fastest in the regular season, and it took him over 2 minutes. And Joe just absolutely killed it. So Brent had to rush. And what happens when you rush? Of course, he ends up falling on the salmon ladder.
Yeah, but not just that. I mean, it's a testament to how good Joe Moravsky really is, because he's so incredibly consistent, and his technique was just so much on point with this particular run. And I don't know, I really enjoyed watching both of them run. And not just that, let's just talk about the matchup in general, dude. Joe Moravsky versus Brent Steffensen. Come on, that is freaking awesome. But yeah, I feel for Brent, because, you know, I'm sure you just look at stage 2 and then you're like, I have to do this in about a minute. Like, how is this happening? So you got to give him all the credit in the world for trying. He had to go just jetpacks on, all out flying. It was really fun to watch.
Yeah, and I'm sure as soon as he missed one of the ropes on the rope jungle, and you could see once he hit the salmon ladder, he knew he had to step it up, and he just started trying to go so fast up the ladder that it was almost impossible. So I appreciate the attempt. It was really cool. And it seems to happen a lot, right? Where you get on these, you know, when they run in heats like this, if the first person sets a strong time, it just forces an error out of the second.
Yeah. And I can definitely see why it's a lot harder to do an obstacle course in general. You have all this pressure, but then you also have a time limit, and it's not even a time limit where it's like, well, this is kind of doable. This is a time limit, well, nobody's ever done this ever except one person, you know. It's kind of difficult.
Okay, and moving on to the next matchup, we had Lance Picas, the Cowboy Ninja, versus Jamie Ron, Captain MDC. Another cool matchup. Jamie had a pretty steady pace through. I was really excited because I was really disappointed that he failed on Roulette Row in the regular season. I had a feeling like he could really do it, but he ended up actually failing on it again, unfortunately.
You know, Lance Picas really surprised me this particular run. How do you feel about that? Because, I don't know, I guess I didn't give Lance Picas enough credit going into this. I was like, oh, Jamie Ron's got this. Lance Picas really stepped up his game.
Yeah, I felt like either one of them had the potential to complete it and learn from the mistakes. Lance just happened to do it, which was great. One thing that I actually took a note of here, Akbar, when Jamie got hung up, he said that he was going to lâcher to the top. Do you think that's even possible to go from the bottom? Like, in order to readjust? That seems impossible, doesn't it?
That sounds incredibly difficult. I understand what he's trying to say, because... And I'm going to talk in the next run, actually, about the announcing, because I think they were the, Akbar and Matt Eisman were the MVPs of the night, especially for this particular special. But I think what he was trying to say is the only chance that Jamie Ron really has to complete this obstacle right now is to just lâcher as hard as he can and hopefully get not to the top, but almost to the point where he's almost at a sideways angle where he'll get enough buildup. But honestly, that almost seems impossible. I'm sure it's doable somehow, but Yeah, we haven't seen it yet, and I don't think we are.
Yeah, it would be. I get so excited. He pumped me right up because I heard him say that. Oh God, is he going to do that? Because I really want to see that so bad now. But we didn't get it. Lance ended up winning the round, and then we moved on to Grant McCartney versus Daniel Gill.
This was so fun. Oh my God, this particular run was so fun.
Grant had like the best interview we've ever had, I think, on the show. After he ends up falling on the unstable bridge, she mentioned something about his hair, comparing him to Daniel, and he ends up lifting his shirt and showing off his hairy chest instead of talking about the hair on top of his head. Like, what a nut.
This particular matchup, the announcing was so fun. Just the entire way that they had this, where they had Matt Eisman and Akbar being team captains, or, choosing the teams, whatever you want to say about it. The kind of like back and forth that they had with each other, and kind of throwing shade at the competitors, being like, oh, I hope he fails or something like this, and the other guy's like, oh, let's go, oh, he's doing great, but he's not as good as my guy. It was so incredibly fun, and it made the show just such a delight to watch and listen to. Did you catch any of these like fun nuggets that they had in the commentary?
No, that's a good point though. They did having that little bit of trash talk back and forth definitely made it a little more entertaining, and I thoroughly enjoyed it too.
Oh my God.
But no, they say that.
It was so fun. I wish I wrote down some of the things Akbar said. He was so on point talking trash. You just have to imagine like him playing video game. He can just like get under your skin.
Yeah, the only thing I remember offhand is him dropping the mic at one point, basically.
Yeah, I think that was a skills competition.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
But yeah, for everybody that didn't catch it, definitely rewatch the first hour and just listen to the commentary. They're so good trash-talking each other.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go back through that episode and find some little nuggets for the show, because it sounds like I wasn't paying close enough attention to Akbar this time around. Oh, speaking of, don't think I really mentioned that. So when I talked to him in Philly, I mentioned that we're using clips of him. I thanked him for his commentary because we're using clips of him on the show, and he thought that was pretty funny, and he was aware of the podcast. Go figure. It's kind of interesting that he's even aware that we're here.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Shout out to Akbar.
So yeah, that was the stage 2 competitions, and they were all good. They were all entertaining. We get to see Daniel. I knew Daniel would readjust and make it through if he had one shot. That's like that guy. I'm really looking forward to seeing how he does this season.
Yeah. Daniel, more than anybody else, is really good under pressure, and also just adjusting to things that change on the course. I think in terms of somebody that's really well adjusted to trying out a new obstacle, he might be up there at the very top.
Yeah. And next we head on to stage 3, and we get Flip versus JJ, which I was a little surprised about, because you don't really think of those guys as the big stage 3 contenders. But yeah, it was interesting to see them because it's not somewhere we've seen them before. I was curious how they would do.
Well, I think this particular special is just about having competitors try a stage or something that they haven't done before. I don't think JJ has ever gone to stage 3. I can't tell if Flip's gone to stage 3 or not. He might have, but either way.
No, Flip hasn't been there either.
Oh, perfect. Then, I think that has a lot to do with it, because also, Megan and Jesse haven't gone to stage 3. So it's a testament to watching them finally try on stage 3 and just see how far they go and everything like that.
Yeah, if you were going to have a real, squaring off of the stage 3 beasts, you might pick, you might go to the Wolfpack for that, right? Have Ian versus Brian or something.
Yeah. But, this competition's more for fun rather than, really big stakes.
Yeah, so it was great to see, especially where it's like a friendly rivalry between them two, so that helps. Yeah. And it was good. JJ went out on the floating boards. Flip looked really comfortable. I was really, really surprised at how comfortable he looked on these on stage 3. What did you think?
No, it was really interesting. I think he might train quite a bit on a lot of these obstacles, maybe at local ninja gyms or something, because he definitely seemed like well poised and like he knew how to do a lot of these obstacles. And a big shout out to the doorknob arch. That particular obstacle is so deceptively difficult. Like the ones that are stationary, I think that's how you say it. That like those aren't too difficult, but the ones that spin, boy, oh boy, is that hard. And I think JJ and Flip kinda were tripped up initially at the one that spins, but they adjusted well and they got through it.
All right, so then we had the matchup we were waiting for. We had Jesse versus Megan in the stage 3 climb off, and oh my god, they both killed it. They both made it through to the ultimate cliffhanger. Jesse beat her time to finish the floating boards. The only reason she got the point ahead of her. Megan made it slightly further. It was like virtually a tie, right? They both killed it. They both did awesome.
Yeah, but boy, that 3-foot gap was huge. And, it looks bad enough with the men competing, but you really got a grasp of how difficult it's going to be for the women. With that said, I mean, Megan did it because, she's got that rock climbing skill. And you could see that Jessie Graff does have the wingspan to kill that obstacle. She just might need to practice. And she said in her interview afterwards that she's probably going to practice on that a little bit more. You can definitely see that this is something very doable for them, and I'm really excited to see them give it another try.
Yeah, I wish we had gotten to see them do stage 2 as well, because I'm curious how they would do there. But we know stage 3 is generally seen as the killer, and there's no reason to think that they can't do it just as well as any of them. I mean, they did just as well as most of the field that made it there this season, right? Kevin Bull, Drew Dreschel, they all... most of them went out on the cliffhanger.
Yeah. I can definitely see them making it to stage 2 and perhaps 3 this particular season. I guess it all really depends on what obstacles they're going to have this time around at Vegas. Because, boy, I don't know, man. I don't see a lot of people completing even stage 1 this particular season in Vegas, but I really hope I'm wrong with that.
Yeah, so then we moved on to stage 4, the big showdown. Lance versus Flip, which was not what I was expecting there either.
Yeah, this was the one where I'm like, okay, now's the time where they're going to choose, like, maybe their team captains, like they're strong guns, But no, they went with Lance Picas and Flip Rodriguez, and boy, when I saw that matchup, I'm like, well, Lance is good, but, that guy is, like, you just look at their body size, and it's pretty apparent Lance is going to have a really tough time catching Flip up that rope.
Yeah, it's just not the same body type. It'd be like having Grant on there, right? Grant's a big guy. That's a long climb.
Yeah, I can understand why. I mean, they wanted somebody that's never tried it before. I get it. It's the same. It's basically the same feel of the entire particular episode that we saw. So I understand why they did it. It's just, once you saw that matchup, it was really hard to even... kind of give Lance I can believe that Lance will get up that rope. I just can't believe necessarily that Lance is going to get up that rope above Flip Rodriguez.
Yeah, Flip made it up in just over 30 seconds, man. He just, if it was the actual climb, he would have been just over the time frame, but not by much.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. He was just there, basically half a second away from, if he got there, $1 million. Isn't that crazy, dude? Like, Flip really, really showed how good he is this episode. I mean, almost all of them really did, but Flip, boy, he's definitely somebody to watch out for if he can get past some of the smaller faults that he has in maybe stage 1 and 2.
Yeah, because Flip, you generally think of him as a parkour guy, speed demon, but he has the upper body, obviously, to do the whole thing.
Yeah.
All right, so then we moved on to the skills competition. Like you said, I wasn't sure what to expect. They didn't really give us a lot to work with, and they start with this giant pegboard. What did you think of that obstacle?
Dude, that was fun. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that I've trained on pegboards before, and they are so incredibly difficult. Like, it's really hard to describe how taxing that particular obstacle is without somebody just trying it, because it doesn't look as bad as it really feels to do. But I really just felt for everybody doing it. That's got to be so difficult. And I really like how it was kind of like a loop where you're going up, then sideways, then down, then back up. It kind of fatigues your arms, and you're using all different portions of your arm, chest, and shoulders. It's got to be an incredibly taxing obstacle to do, and it was really fun to watch everybody try it.
Yeah, so they had 4 people try it. Ben Mielek, Jesse Graff, David Campbell, and Brian Arnold.
Who saw Ben Mielik being chosen? I mean, no offense to Ben Mielik, but I was like, what?
Yeah, I kind of did a double take too. But he did well. He did 12 segments.
Oh, yeah, he did great, man.
Yeah, Jesse did 10. She was a little awkward at points, but she did really well. And David Campbell did 13. And Brian Arnold, always underestimated. Brian Arnold came in at 15 segments and won the medal.
Once again, showing who he is. But yeah, once again, he's underestimated going into it. Felt bad for the guy. Because I was like... initially, when I see the teams, like, everybody's, pretty even ground. And then thinking back, I'm like, no, Brian Arnold's there. What am I talking about? Of course.
Yeah. As soon as I saw he was in there, in this case, I would definitely have my money on him for that one. But yeah, that was really cool to watch. It was pretty interesting. But I have to say, it didn't really hold a candle to the supersonic shelf, the supersonic shelf grab.
Oh, I loved it.
That was my favorite competition tonight. I absolutely loved watching that whole thing.
Okay, I got a question for you. If they were able to extend it even further, who do you think would win that?
I think Drew had it.
It has to be
really
Drew, man. Like, due to the technique and everything, Isaac was holding his own. He was doing quite well, but Drew just flew forwards, and you could just see when he was grabbing it that he had so much more like distance that he can cover, whereas Isaac was kind of reaching the extent of how far he can go. I really wish they were able to extend it further, not only to have a definitive winner, but also I just wanted to see how far they can actually go.
Yeah, it was funny that the whole point of this was to test their limits, and they're just beyond what they could even show. Like that's hilarious that Drew and Isaac both just are able to top it out. Like you can't make them fail at it. It's so crazy that they can go 14 feet through the air and catch that shelf. That's insane.
Yeah, what was also interesting is this particular competition between the four competitors, every single one had a different form of lache. And I didn't even know there were 4 different techniques to a lache, man. But everybody was doing a lache differently, and I'm like, whoa. It was really cool to see how they tackled this particular obstacle. And dude, just everybody covering that distance. It was so insane, so fun. But boy, was Drew just he was on another level with this obstacle. He was flying so incredibly far.
I could watch him do that all night. It was absolutely phenomenal. I couldn't believe he almost hit his face a number of times. He was flying so far.
Yeah, that was fun. Also, this particular obstacle or thing is a testament for for the whole skills competition, where it really it reminded me a lot of the X Games, where there are particular parts of the X Games where it's like the I'm going to butcher it, but I think it's like the motocross high step or something like that, where they have to go above a bar, and they keep raising the bar and seeing how far somebody can go. And it really reminded me of things like that, where it was kind of a celebration of the sport of American Ninja Warrior and just seeing how far these competitors can go. And it wasn't necessarily competing against each other, but just once again competing against the course and testing the limits. And it was just a genuinely fun environment and fun to just watch. I was smiling the whole time through.
Yeah, and it was such a positive, like you said, positive atmosphere, because I just had to make note that Isaac was very gracious and shared the limelight and put the medal on Drew and was just the sweetest guy. Hey, yeah, we both did it. We both maxed out. I went second. I was taking a lead from Drew as he was kind of showing me it could be done. And I don't know if I can say any more than that, but I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of camaraderie, and I really enjoyed it. I think it's a lot said when there's not the stress of a competition involved and more of the camaraderie and everybody against the course. And I think we're going to see that going on entirely with American Ninja Warrior. And all around, thumbs up, man.
Yep. So then we moved on to the salmon ladder, the insane salmon ladder that was 4 stories high, 35 rungs. The fact that anyone was able to do anywhere close to that is amazing to me. Like, I thought it was such overkill. I'm like, 4 stories, guys? Like, do you think you needed half of that?
Dude, just go higher. I want it even higher. That was so fun. This is the type of stuff that I want to see. It's kind of like, how far can you actually go? And I really enjoyed that they had 2 particular competitors that were just like shoe-in masters of of the salmon ladder, and just getting to see how great they are at this. It was so fun, man.
You know, it's kind of funny actually. On the Wolfpack podcast, they pointed out that Ryan Stratus was actually supposed to do it, not Mike Bernardo.
Really?
Yeah, and Ryan gave up his spot to Mike because I think he had hurt his shoulder by the sounds of it at that point, and so that was bothering him a bit. But really, he knew Mike could kill it, and he gave up that spot to let Mike show what he could do.
Yeah, I mean, going in, I thought Mark Bernardo was a shoo-in to win it. I was like, of course they have Mike Bernardo. If you ever see this guy training, I mean, like, he's a master at the salmon ladder, and he showed it tonight. I mean, what'd they say? His nickname's like Machine Gun or something like that. Like, he just flew up that, not only just the speed, but also just the commitment that he had with it. I mean, his build, he's bigger, so you kind of expect him to not be able to carry that weight, but he was able to do it perfectly. And he had a really interesting technique for a good portion of it, where he was choked up kind of to the side of it and kind of flew up that way. And what that does is it kind of takes off the pressure from one side of the weight. You definitely have to have enough muscle strength to, adjust on the other side when you're going up. But he was able to keep it steady, and that was a really interesting technique. I'm interested to see if anybody tries that later on.
Yeah, they all did really well, I thought, and because by comparison, it might not seem that way. You see, Casey did 11 rungs. 11 rungs is a lot. That's more than twice the city finals. Oh
yeah, I mean, Casey, I feel bad for of all the obstacles that have Casey run. Why the salmon ladder, man? It's like
okay, so that did seem odd to you too. I thought, why would they pick that one of all the ones that they had? But yeah, I guess they wanted to kind of square her off against Dusty, maybe, because they're both around the same height.
I guess, but man, she's more of a shoo-in for the pegs or something, where she can hold her body weight. With this, you kind of have to have the strength to shoot up that particular, it's almost like doing a weighted push-up or pull-up, sorry. Kind of like doing a weighted pull-up, and you're thrusting your body upwards. And obviously she can do it, but she's not going to be able to, I mean, just look at her. You know what I mean? It's hard to describe without sounding kind of offensive, but she's not going to do 35 rungs of it anytime soon with her body weight and muscle mass. But she'd be able to do the pegboard. I feel like she'd be able to fly through that thing easily.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, maybe, but I don't know. Where her wingspan? No, they're pretty. It's not like there's any real long reaches you have to make. She could make shorter.
It's about technique with the pegboard. Trust me, I've learned that the hard way trying that damn thing. It's very much about being able to keep your body steady while putting the pegs in. It's more about they make it look easy, but when you actually try it, it's your body is swinging so crazily and hectically that it's really difficult to get an arm or the peg in the hole. And I feel like she'd be able to have enough control of her body with her light weight to be able to do that.
All right. And then they basically fast forwarded one of the competitions, which was a little disappointing. The giant jump hang. You've got to think that Abel Gonzalez was a little disappointed, since the one event he was in ended up getting cut, and Nicholas Coolidge too, because they just kind of fast forwarded through it. They waited a year, and that sucks.
Yeah, to be fair, I mean, looking at it from what I saw, it's not something where I think that would be the part where my eyes would glaze over. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it doesn't have the excitement of some of the other ones. It sounds like they only had to move it once too, right? At 16 feet, they all did it, and at 17 feet, I guess they moved it twice. Abel and Brent fell, and then at 17 and a half, JJ and Nicholas fell, and so they tied for first place.
Yeah. To be fair, also, that obstacle once again is very difficult. It looks a lot easier than it is in practice.
It looks incredibly dangerous, I have to say.
Yeah. Well, I when I tried it, I didn't have the safety net of water or anything. So let's just say I only tried it once. I was able to do it, but I quickly learned. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing this ever again. Without anything underneath me.
So then we finished it all up with the mega wall, starting off at 16 feet.
God, these people are like inhuman. Like that is so crazy that they were able to do it. And at one part, didn't they have it like Joe Moravsky? His feet was above where the regular warped wall was.
They showed, basically Flip and Joe were both, by the time it was all said and done, their feet, it was almost like they had just run up the warped wall without using their hands.
Yeah. So crazy, dude.
Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. And they kept bumping it up and bumping it up and bumping it up. And in the end, I actually kind of thought Joe was going to take it there because he still looked like he was comfortable right to the very last one. But Flip's just mastered the wall.
Yeah, he really has. It says a lot about his body. Well, they really both have the same body build. Kind of, they're a lot leaner, kind of lanky. You know, shout out to that because I'm more of that body build. And boy, like Flip really showed off his speed. He not only is fast horizontally, but vertically he can garner the traction to kind of just like say screw you gravity and just almost run up the side of a building almost. I mean, it was crazy how he did it. His technique was absolutely flawless, and I'm really excited to see him just kill it next season. And I hope they have, I really hope they change the name, but a different competition, like the skills competition, with a different name. I really hope they have it next year. I think there's a lot of obstacles, especially with the new obstacles that we have this year, where they can modify to extreme extents and really have some fun with it.
Yeah, I hope it does come back. It would be really interesting to see how they readjust. Can they make the flying shelf crab far enough to trip up Drew, or is he going to just keep going as far as they can make it?
Yeah, from like one end of the lot to the other, right?
Yeah.
You know what was interesting also? It was almost like daybreak by the time this competition was over. I have to feel for everybody out there because, like, you have to imagine they're all running on like a day's worth of no sleep, and this is right after all the previous competitions also. So their bodies must have been so incredibly taxed by the time they were filming this.
Oh yeah, I got something of an appreciation for that after watching it all night. Like, I tended to think that they shuffle the order on the ninjas, and that the best of the best didn't run last, but it does seem like that's what they do favor, as you said, as Bijan, you warned me that the most popular ones do tend to go towards the end, and it's like 4:00 in the morning at that point, and they're trying to do all these obstacles. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's rough, man. But shout out to them. I mean, they can do it. Just incredibly unhuman. And what was the like? This is one thing that you're gonna have to add to our soundboard. Is Akbar just losing his freaking mind, going like, "He's not human. He's not human." I was dying laughing, dude. Akbar, I love you, dude.
So that is it. That is the end of the All-Star Special.
Yeah.
Which
tons of fun.
Thoroughly enjoyed.
So much fun. And quick little thing. I have to praise NBC. Although this is the first time seeing them, and I wish I saw more. The commercials that they had all freaking night for the upcoming Spartan show, it looked so good. It looked so fun. My God, I know my dream bucket list thing is American Ninja Warrior, but I would kill to be on this Spartan show. This is so up my alley. I am so unbelievably excited to cover it with you, Rich. Like, this is up my wheelhouse. A lot of these obstacles that they did, I've done before, not as extreme, but I've done them. And I'm like, oh, I was just giddy watching it. It really looks like a fun show, and I really hope everybody out there listening watches this show and, goes through it with us while we cover it, because this, I think, is going to be a huge show coming up.
I'm really interested to see it too. I don't know what to expect as much because I was unfortunately skipping past all the commercials trying to...
come on, man.
Yeah, I missed them. I'm going to have to go back now that I know they're there and check them out.
Dude, there was like 3 or 4 different commercials for the show, and every single one looked great. I mean, yeah, they haven't been like advertising it at all from what I've seen, but this particular episode of American Ninja Warrior, which is proper because you're speaking to the right audience, boy, did they advertise it, and good on them, dude. Not only that, the premiere is going to take place right after American Ninja Warrior on the 13th, and what a great lead-in, right? Like, they are perfectly advertising this. I don't know if it's going to be a new episode of American Ninja Warrior or a rerun, but yeah, that's going to be awesome.
Cool. Can't wait to see it. Can't wait to cover it. It is going to be a very tight schedule for us for this whole summer, but it's going to be lots of fun.
Whew. No sleep, man.
Yeah. So one other thing we wanted to bring up was the new blog, website, I don't know what all you want to call it. It's the American Ninja Warrior Nation that they've started up. It's an official site where you can contribute your own posts, your own content. We've already got some people posting things there, including the Wolfpack Ninjas have posted their own article, the ANW Fantasy website. So everybody's getting in there. I'm sure we'll be submitting our own content as well. Basically,
We better.
it's a place for us all to collaborate and just celebrate the show together. It's a really neat idea. So
yeah, it's about damn time, right? Like, before this, we really had Sasuke Maniac forums, and we had the ANW and Ninja Warrior Reddits. Or at least for me, those were pretty much the only ways to kind of communicate and share with other fans. I mean, of course, there's the main ones like Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff. But in terms of like actually committed websites, those are the only ones that you can think of. And this is such a great idea, a joined hub for everybody to just join their love for American Ninja Warrior. And I really think this particular website's going to explode with the upcoming season. I'm really excited for it, and I'm so happy they're doing this.
yeah, so we'll have a link to that in the show notes, so you should definitely check it out. You can sign up to the website, and you can use your Facebook account and Twitter account and other ways to sign up. So it's pretty easy. Definitely recommend you do it, and join us there when you can.
Yeah. Keep an eye out. We might have some big news coming up this summer on that website and also on the podcast. But we'll talk about that later.
So that is it for this episode, but not it for this week. We will have another episode coming along before long, covering the season premiere that we've been waiting for about 8 months now for. So excited to have it back.
Get
so
hyped.
excited to cover it. Yeah, get hyped. We are coming back at you with another episode, and we will be seeing all your favorite ninjas, covering it all, as along with the Spartan show that will be starting, as Bijan mentioned, on June 13th. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can reach us at ninjapodcast.com. We are on Facebook and Twitter. That's at Ninja Podcast. And we are also on Instagram. If you feel like emailing us, you can reach us at rich@ninjapodcast.com. So once again, thank you all for listening, and I hope you have a great week.
Deuces, y'all.